Hello YouTubers, I hope you are doing fine. And if you are new to my channel and just landed on this video, I strongly do suggest that you start from the very first video of this series because things will make much more sense to you. And those of you who are following along this series, as you know, in the previous video, I installed and configured SQL Server 2019 actually, to be exact, uh, on SQL 01 and made sure that it is prepared for installation of SCCM. In this video, I'm going to uh, join SCCM 01 to domain bbtech.com, and then I'm going to run a prerequisite checker and also install all of the features and other components that are required as a prerequisite for the SCCM installation. Then I will do actual installation of SCCM, and towards the end I will verify if the installation was successful. I might run into few problems. I don't expect them, but you know, these things do happen, and even if they would happen, I would show you what the problem is and I will try to fix it so that if you are running into same kind of an issue, then you are able to fix. Let's get started. Thank you for watching our videos. I'm Bibi, and with me in picture is my wife Mishi. We are husband and wife team who works together to bring you all these videos. We love to drink hot tea. Please support our channel by subscribing, sharing on social media, and commenting in the comment section. If you would like to buy a cup of tea for us, now you could do so via PayPal. You could see the link on this screen and also in the description of this video. Thank you again, and we love you. Peace. So I'm just gonna quickly log into my ESX lab and power on the SCCM 01. It's right here. Right click, power on. And once it's on, since I have already assigned the static IP to it, and it's not joined to the domain, so I cannot actually go in RDP using the machine name. I'm just going to use it the static IP address and then join it to the domain. Just want to make sure that the IP is still correct. Should be. Just want to make sure. Yep, 192.168.0.101. That looks fine. Alright, I'm just gonna log in using RDP, MSDSC, and the server through the IP address is 192.168.0.101. Is an admin, so administrator localhost. Administrator. My awesome password. Yes. Just gonna close this, and I'll just go to C and then create a folder. That's where I'm going to stage all of the installation media. SCCM. Installation media, and then within that I'm going to create downloaded files. The reason why I want to do this because it does go whenever the prerequisite runs. Prerequisite needs to download some of the files, and those files are the one that I'm going to just stage it there. It makes it a little bit easier. I copied the config manager prerequisite tool. The link is in the description where you could download this tool. Double click, launch it basically, and start from the top. Sites. This is where you could. This is the prerequisite tool. The current version is 3.0.4. Might be different by the time you get to it, but I'm sure the interface is going to be the same. So since and there are different type of prerequisite that it can help you with. Since mine is the primary site, so I'm just gonna select primary. You could also set gas and secondary site too. In the future, I would create some more videos that would have gas and secondary site. But for this one, I'm just gonna stick with primary, and then do click install. It will go check whatever the features that needs to be installed on this machine. It will start installing it. So I will pause it until all of these 1 of 9 are completed. This will save just a little bit time. If there are any kind of changes that I would make, or if I run into any kind of problem, then I'm gonna unpause it and start recording. But other than that, majority of the time, I'm just gonna keep it paused while there is no user interaction that is needed. This would save some time and the video is not gonna be very long. All right, the first part is done for the prerequisite. So I'm just gonna click continue. And then next is, you could see that there are some tabs on the top where they go from right to left. I'm sorry, the opposite, left to right. And then also there are certain things that goes from top to bottom too. So the way I would go is I'm just going to take the first one and then go through all of these on the left to right. So prerequisite, this is for basically if the files are not downloaded, which I do have it downloaded. I guess I did not copy them over. Let me, I'm just gonna copy those files right here real quick. I should be back in, I'm just gonna pause it and I'm gonna be back in a second. All right, I have moved the file. This is actually an executable that I downloaded from Microsoft. So currently this one has SCCM 1902. The link to download this file is in the description. So this would be basically a 3-step kind of a part under this tab. One is once you're going to execute this, which I'm going to execute it by double clicking on it, it will extract, it would ask me to extract the files, which I will extract them right here. Then within that extracted folder, I will point it to setup dl.exe. It will just browse through it, and then also once I'm gonna click start on it, it also asks to download some new some more files from SCCM too. So that would be the third part. So I'm just gonna double click on it. It's asking me where do you want to basically dump or extract these files. So in my case, I will extract them into, just gonna copy the name of this folder right here. Sorry. You could do it directly at C2 if you want, but since I have already created a folder, that's where I want to. Where is right here? That's where it will go, and the name of the folder would be that. So there is a subfolder within that SCCM installation media, and there's a subfolder right there. Unzip. Goods. No. Sorry, I just mistakenly clicked on it. So while this one is unzipping, for a few seconds, I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so all of the files are unzipped. I'm gonna click OK and close it because we don't need this. Now I'll just go here and basically browse to this executable, which is under SMS setup and x64. Copy this path, paste it, and then browse, and then look for that file. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to do it again here. The file is setup DL right there. Okay, and then there are some prerequisite files that SCCM setup does download. So this is where you need to give the path to where those files needs to be downloaded. I believe there are like 53 or so files that needs to be downloaded. So this was the reason I had created this separate folder within that SCCM installation media. This is where I'm gonna dump those files. So I'm just gonna go and get the path to this one, downloaded files, copy, paste it right there, and now I'm gonna start it. One thing that you do want to make sure that you do have access to the internet either on the SCCM server, and for any reason, let's say if you don't, then you are going to run this tool on a different machine that has the access to internet. Download these files on that machine by running the same way that I'm doing it, and then copy these files manually into your SCCM server, and then from there you could just take it from there. So all the files are downloaded. It's now just trying to go in. It's doing some kind of a checksum on it just to ensure that integrity of the files. All right, the download is completed. Next is the preferences. Don't worry about this one for this video. In the future, one of the future video, I will explain this when I would set up basically a WSS and all those kind of things. For now, this is a only core installation of SCCM, so I'm not going to worry about this in this video. Next is roles. So this one, since this is I'm going to have only one server in this lab. All of these roles are going to be on this, but for the core installation and for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to install two, which is the management point and the distribution point. Rest I will do in the future videos. So you might want to subscribe it if you want to know on each role that is installed for SCCM. So just gonna select management point, click install. It's just going through all of the prerequisite that is required for the management point. It's not installing the management point. It's only installing the prerequisite that is required for the management point. So these are about 18. So as soon as it's completed, I'm gonna come back. So I'm gonna put it on pause for now. All right, all of the management point features are installed. I'm gonna click continue. Now I'm gonna do distribution point to install. This should go pretty fast. So I'm just gonna pause it, and I'll be back when all of these 1 of 24 prerequisites are installed. Yes, since majority of the ones are already installed, that's why you could see like it went like really quick. I would say within like 10 seconds, because they were already installed. It just went and checked it and put a check mark to it like, hey, you don't need this. As you could see, no change needed, because this is already installed. Right, that's completed. Next, I'm going to click on directory. This is basically when it tries to go and set up the extend the schema on Active Directory. But in order for it to do, there is one more thing that I'm gonna set up. There is a group in Active Directory, a user that I'm gonna set it up, because that's where when you try to call and try to extend the schema and do the container, it does require a group versus just using a user. So I'm just gonna go ahead and log into TX DC01 and set up a group there. And also one more thing that I should have done that one earlier that I kind of said that I'm going to do is I will just change the background of this machine right here on the desktop so that this one is different and it's a little bit easier for you guys to understand which machine I was making any changes or if I was working on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this one to green. The last one I did to red. So this would become the SCCM one. And I'm also going to create a text file here and put it SCCM01. Just a better way to kind of identify the machines so that there are no confusions. So now I'm going to RDP into Active Directory server, which is a domain controller basically. And that was TX DC01. This should be blue. I'm gonna log in as SC admin. My awesome password. Yes. I'm gonna create a text file here too, so that this one is TX DC01. This could stay right there. Go to Server Manager, click on the tools, and do Active Directory users and computers. That's what I selected. I'm basically going and trying to create a user group. Users, right click, new, and this would be user group. And I would call it SCCM admin. Click OK. Now I have, and the difference is like if it's a single user, you could see it just there is one user, and if it's a group, you are going to see like two that indicates the icon is for the group. So within this SCCM admins group, actually I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it. I'm going to change that username so that there is just a little bit. Just a minor difference in it. I call it SCCMA and apply it. Refresh. Just go out and come back. Yeah, so now that's why I never changed it. Sorry, here I need to change it actually right here. Apply. Come on. Okay, this is SCCM admin without S. I don't know why it's not checking the change, but so I'm just gonna I created I'm just gonna click on tools, Active Directory users and computers. Click on tools, Active Directory users and computers. And here I'm going to create a new group. It's going to be a users group. So I'm going to right click on it, new, and it's going to be group. And I would name this one as SCCM administrators. Okay. So I have this, and the difference between the two is the way you could see. The one with the two users kind of icon is the group, and the one is just a user. Now I will make this SCCM admin part of this group, and even in the future, if I want any of the more SCCM admins, any users that are coming new, and let's say that there is a new SCCM admin that was hired and you want to add it, instead of just going and adding each user into SCCM, this is easier and better way to manage it. You just gotta put that user into this group, and they would have all the rights of all of the other admins. It is much better and easier way to manage them. So I'm just gonna click on the members. There is no members in this group, so I'm gonna add this, and I will do SCCM underscore or SC underscore admin. Check. That's the one. Now this one is the member, and also I right now if I look at the members on this group is not a member of anything. It does not have basically any rights. It's just like a standard user. So in order for it to get all of the permissions, the admin permissions, I need to make this group to part of that too. So in my case, I'm going to make this group also as part of the domain admins. So I'll just go and look for domain. Check name, and that will be domain admins. Okay. All right. They have kind of ultimate power. So this is lab. It's all set. This is good. Now I'll go back to SCCM server and detect schema. Just it's gonna go. And, oh, sorry, my bad. You do need to populate that domain in here, which would be bbtech.com. Then validate. Okay, I know why I'm running to this issue. I missed one step. This machine needs to be joined to the domain too. I don't know how I missed it. So once you are setting up and you started running these prerequisites, the very first thing you need to do is join this domain, this machine to domain. I somehow missed it. I'm sorry. We could still go ahead and do it. It's not a big deal, but you need to do right now. As you could see, this is still part of the work group. So I'm gonna join this to the domain, and then I will come back, and obviously this machine would be rebooted. So we would start back from this step directory schema, this step again. So I apologize, and as I have mentioned in the previous video too, sometimes you do run into some issues. I will join this to bbtech.com. Click OK. It's asking for the credentials, sc_admin with the awesome password. Okay, that's good. It's gonna restart. Go back in again. This time I'm gonna I will not go with 192.168, not the IP address. This time I'm gonna go as SCCM01. It should be able to find it. It's still rebooting. There you go. And this would be bbtech/sc_admin and user ID. Password is the awesome password. Login. And since the user is changing, you are not going to see the background as green. So I'm just going to real quickly, I'm going to reset it again, because that was for administrator. Okay, so we are back where we left. Now I'm gonna run that prerequisite tool, prerequisite checker tool again. I apologize for this, but you are gonna run into these kind of things too. This is kind of a nature of the beast. So now when I go and just click detect, you see it automatically went and detected it, and it even knows what is the name of the server for the domain controller. So here, what basically this part is going to do, that it under schema, this needs to first stage this the executable. This is a utility that Microsoft has built to extend the Active Directory schema. So it needs to stage onto domain controller under C drive. So I'm just going to quickly show you what's going to happen in this step. So if you go and look at the, let me minimize this so that you guys can see, this is the TXDC01. And right, if you go into C, you don't see any executable over here. Once I will run that that piece, you are going to see that the file is going to get staged over here, and that's where that tool is going to also execute it from here, because in order to extend the schema, it needs to run from C on the domain controller. So now is asking me, where is this file? So this is basically located into the source files for the SCCM, which is right here under, it's kind of, you could see the path here too. It says SMS setup bin x64. It's right here. So I'm just going to copy the path, copy, browse, and then paste it here, versus just going through each one. And now I'm going to look for that file, which is for ext right there, ext AD schema.exe. Click OK. Press stage. And this is already staged. And one way to check it is to actually go and physically look at that on the domain controller. It's right here. And the other way is that if you go back and try to stage it again, press it again, it will give you the message that it's already done. So that's done. Now the next part is that you want to extend the schema. You could use different credentials if you want to, but since I am logged in as a domain admin, which is the account sc_admin is also a domain admin, so that's the one that I'm going to use anyway. So I'm not going to go and use the alternative credentials. So just and yeah, before I extend it, I want to show you something, what exactly is trying to do. So before and after, so that you could kind of go and know and check it too, like, okay, what exactly happened, because this is kind of a seamless process that you don't see it, but you need to know to ensure. So in order to do that, just go back to, I'm going to go back to domain controller. And then click on, basically go into the server manager, tools, ADSI edit, excuse me. And then you need to browse to your domain hive. And here, if you look at it, just look for system. Under system, this would, once the schema is extended, you are going to see a container. The name of that container would be, I think it's the system management. Yeah, it's system management. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend it, and you would see once it's extended that, and I'm going to come back and refresh it, it should show up over here. So I'm just going to minimize this, go back, extend, schema extended, Continue. Click on container, detect, and obviously it should pull up txtc01. If it's not, then there is a problem, some kind of issue that you would need to address that. And then click create. This would create that container. Click continue. Now, I'm just gonna go back to DC and refresh this. Refresh. Let's see. And as you could see right here, this was created. So now the container is there, schema is extended. The next thing that needs to happen, that obviously this, if you look at the properties of it, right click and look at the properties. By the way, I am onto domain controller. And click on the security. You're not going to see that SC admin group that has any kind of rights on this. So that's what I need to do. In order for this schema and this container to work properly for SCCM, it needs the SCCM account, the admin account, needs to have full rights on this. So that's what I'm gonna do next. So I'm just gonna go back to the SCCM server and click on the permissions. And here, this is, by the way, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna hop back again to Active Directory server, and I want to show you something else too. Why in a previous one of the previous video, why I had created a group. Right, go to Active Directory site. No, not the site, I'm sorry, Active Directory users and computers. So this was the reasoning that I had done this group, SCCM administrators, because whenever you are running the prerequisite tool, prerequisite checker tool, it does not let you take only one user. It wants to make sure that you do have a group set up. So this was the reason that I had set that group up. So now I'm just gonna go and search, just type SCCM to search, and that's the one, SCCM administrators, and just click configure. Continue. So this one is configured now. If I go back now to the domain controller and refresh it, then look at the properties on that group. I'm sorry, not this one. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go to the container, where the container was. Close this, minimize this, right here. So I'm gonna refresh it. Go and look at the properties. Security. Now, right here, SCCM admins, you could see this one has a full access. So you need to make sure that you have the full access for that group. Click OK. All right, so I'm kind of done here for now. I'm just gonna minimize this and come back to SCCM server. So now I'm done with the directory tab. Next, I'm gonna click on ADK and click on load. This should go out on Microsoft and try to grab whatever the latest version of ADK that is available. If you don't have the internet access on this server, then obviously you would need to do it on a machine that has the access to internet. So just click load. You could also copy these. By default, it copies to C Windows temp, but you could the source files. But you could also change it here if you desire to do so. I'm not going to change anything, so I'm just going to click install. Continue. while this one is installing, used to be that WinPE was kind of bundled into this. Now it is not. So you need to download WinPE. It's called WinPE add-on for ADK. I'm gonna include the link into the description of this video. But while this one is downloading, I'm gonna create a new folder into SCCM installation media and start and download that too. So create WinPE add-on. This is where I'm gonna save it. Okay, so successfully installed Windows ADK. Please restart. So it does require the reboot. So I'm just gonna continue. Sorry, it kind of ended faster than I expected. So I'm just gonna come back to WinPE after the reboot. Click continue. And I would just go back and restart this machine real quick. It's rebooting. Minimize this. Launch the tool again. So this is where we are right now. Just gonna go open Internet Explorer and copy and paste the link to download WinPE add-on. That's the link. I would include that one in the description of this video. Download WinPE add-on for ADK. Save as. I did create one folder in C. Just gonna go ahead and set it right there. Run. So this is also going, I mean, that executable, the one that is downloaded, is just a little bitty tiny executable that drives the installer. So it needs to still go and download much bigger package that you could see. It could take about 5.7 gig. So ideally, maybe you want to download it in advance before you start this lab. So I'm just going to click next. Send anonymous user data to Microsoft. I'm going to click no. Click next. Read the license agreement. Accept. WinPE. Click leave as is, and then click install. So this can take some time for the files to download. I'm gonna pause it and come back once it's kind of close to 95% or so. All right, it's completed. I'm gonna click close. So since the ADK and the WinPE installation is kind of automated, it does not install all of the components that are needed for my lab. Like there is one component that is missing for imaging. So what I'll do is usually what I go back, go to the temp folder, see Windows temp, and I double click on ADK setup. It's gonna prompt that if I want to change or add or remove all of the features in Windows ADK, so which I want to change. So click continue. I do want to do image and configuration designer. This I will need it in the future, and once you check it, obviously it will add whatever the other prerequisite for this one is to. Don't need application compatibility tool. Rest, nothing else is going to be needed. Just only that one piece that I would be interested in the future to use for imaging. So I'm just going to go ahead and enable that one. Do change. It's just going to go through, do its thing real quick, and it would install that feature. All right, this is good. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. So next, what I need to do is I do need to open the ports, port 1433 and 4022. So the script is the same script that I ran on SQL Server. So I'm just gonna go ahead and launch PowerShell. On this script. This is, sorry, I need to run this one as an admin. PowerShell. Not this one, but not this. PowerShell browser. Do PowerShell. That's done. Quickly validate is good. Firewall. Advanced security settings. Right there. So this is kind of good. Okay. Now go back to the tool. Just gonna verify if I am able to make the connection. So to do that, just simply go to settings first, not the SQL Server, but the settings. Click on connections and put active the SQL Server name, SQL01 dot. It does require fully qualified domain name, and that's why in the very beginning I said make sure that your network is configured properly. The machines should resolve into forward and reverse DNS lookup, because if it wouldn't, you are gonna run into the problem. This is where you will run into the problem. So in fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and just verify just one time before I just get to that. Open a DOS command and do ns lookup SQL01, resolving to 102 that 192.168.0.102. That I'm gonna do another one on the IP, which is a reverse lookup 102, and that is resolving to SQL01. So that's good. Put SQL01 bbtech.com and then connect. Okay, good. This is looking good. If you cannot connect, that's a problem. You are gonna fail. So make sure that you have a successful connection to SQL database. Click continue. So now I can go back here and configure the memory, as I mentioned in the previous video too, where I had not basically configured the memory. This is where you could do. This 8 gig is perfect. Just gonna leave everything default, because that server I have set up 12 gig. So 4 gig is enough for other stuff for the server and 12 gig for SQL. So this is good. Do configure. Successfully configure the SQL Server memory. Continue. This is good. Collation. This is the same thing I had mentioned in the previous video too. It should validate and it should come successful. If you had not configured it properly during the installation, you are going to see a problem here. So do That's good. Validate. That's the check mark right there. Database. I'm not going to worry about it. I will during the installation I will get SCCM installer to create that one. So we could just leave this as is. And same thing for the reports. I'm not going to worry too much about it because I have not installed intentionally the reporting component. I will do that later on. Next is the WSS. Yes, this is required. So I'm just gonna click install. And yeah, select the database option. You are gonna see two options. I will go with SQL because that's where I want it to be. So Windows is internal database. You don't want to do it if you have the SQL Server, and you do need to set it up because you want the WSS to be configured with SCCM. So SQL Server, click install. Installation successful. So next I'm going to click on post install, and obviously this is needing the fully qualified domain name for the SQL Server. And as you could see here, specify a location where WSS content will be stored. In the very first video, when I created, basically when I built SCCM 01, I had configured two drives for this. But as you could see right now here, it's just one. So first I need to go and basically put that drive online, and then SCCM, the WSS content, and all of my packages, I will put it onto that drive. So that's why I decided to not put everything on C. Only the installation of SCCM will be on C, but on E drive, I'm gonna put all of the content. So I'm just gonna go and put that drive online real quick, and I will create this WSS content folder on that, and then I'm gonna configure WSS based on that drive. So to put that drive online, just right click on the start and then select disk management. I mean, there are different ways you could do it. You could also run this through the PowerShell too, but this is a little faster. And as you could see here, this one is offline. So you could just kind of right click and put online. And then once you have that, I'm just going to go and quickly format this drive too. Call it, I can call it data. Click OK. Yes. And right click, and then I'm just going to change the drive to E. Add E is already default. Click OK. So now, if I go to this computer, I would have this drive. So this is where I'm going to create a folder with WSS content. Right click, new folder. Excuse me. This. Now I can put this one right here and configure. Oh, sorry, I just gotta enter the fully qualified domain name for SQL01.bbtech.com. As you could see, it's already started to create some folders. All right, it's successfully completed the WSS post install. Continue. This is good. Now there is one more thing that I need to do before everything is kind of complete on it. That is to add SCCM server, and then also a couple of accounts as an admin, uh, as local admin. So to do that, just right click on the start and go to computer management, and right here these are the groups, and you just want to go to administrator, double click on it, click add, and the accounts that you want to add it SCCM, no sorry, SC admin, that's the admin account. Okay, this is admin, but just to make sure that it is added as a local admin too. Then add, and then this one you also want to add SCCM01, the machine, as an admin on too. So do location, sorry, object types, check the computers so that you are able to pull the computers too. Click OK, and do SCCM01, check, okay, apply, and then one more account, which is SVC underscore admin. No, sorry, SQL1, my bad. Check here. This is good. Then next I need to do the same. Add basically add the users to SCCM. To SQL Server. So I'm just gonna RDP into. I already have it RDP into SQL01. Once you are in it, right click on the start. It's a right click, and then go to computer management. And here I need to add a couple of users as an administrators. So click on groups, administrator. Once administrator properties window popped up, click add. One thing it needs to be is SC underscore admin. That needs to be an admin. And then also SCCM server needs to be admin too on this machine. So the machine name for SCCM server is SCCM01. So I'm just gonna add and to do that, sorry, I'm gonna go back here. Add, click add, and then object types. Make sure the computers is checked, otherwise it will not be able to search for computers. So click OK, and then here SCCM01, check names right there. OK, apply. Okay, that's all. This is I think we are done with the SQL Server now. I'm just gonna minimize this and I'll go back to SCCM Server. And now I'm just gonna basically start the actual installation of SCCM. So I really don't need this tool right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close this. And then go to where the source files are. I have them in C SCCM installation media, and then I had extracted it as SC underscore config manager is in this folder. Just once you are in, just click on the splash. So double click, I'm sorry, and then click install. Yes. Next, install a configuration manager primary site, and then you don't want to check anything. If you check this one, use typical installation option for a standalone. That means everything is installed, like SQL Server is also installed on this machine. So make sure this one is not checked. Only check install a config manager primary site. Click next. And I'm going to install the evaluation edition of this product. Click next. Accept all of the license terms. next. And since I have already downloaded these prerequisite files, so instead of just going and downloading them, it's in this option. Let's say that you had not downloaded it, and that's where you would put the path. But I have already downloaded them, so I'm just going to use previously downloaded files. Click OK, and they were in this folder right here, SCCM installation media and downloaded files. That's where they were. So I'm just going to copy this path. Oh, I could actually either way, you could just copy and paste it right there. Click next. It's just going to take just a few seconds just to validate. It's running some checksum and making sure that those files are actually safe files. And I think it runs some more checksum on it too. Select the language. In my case, I'm just going to go with English. Click next. Same here too. If you have different language, you just select next. But I mean, select your desired language. But I'm going to go with English. Click next. This is the site code. I'm going to give my site code is TX1, and name I'm going to call it Texas1. Leave everything else as a default, and you do want to make sure that this check mark is installed. This is that you want to install the SCCM console on this machine. Click next. So here, since this is the only site that I would have, so you need to select install primary site as a standalone site. Click next. System is prompting you. You have selected to install the site as a standalone primary site. You can expand this site into hierarchy later if you want to, which I will probably do it down the road. But for now, just click yes. And this is where system is prompting you to enter the SQL information, which in my case is going to be SQL01. That's the SQL server name. And then since it's looking for the fully qualified domain name, that's why it's very important. Again, I have said it I think few times before too. You need to make sure that your network is configured correctly. Your DNS is configured correctly so that machine name could resolve into reverse and forward lookup zones. So SQL01.bb.tag, that's the database name the system will create. Leave everything default. Just change the name of the server to SQL01. Click next. Everything default. That's the path to server data file. Just leave everything basically default and click next. And SMS provider would be the same server. So everything default. Click next. And since I don't have the PKI certs installed right now, just select configure the communication method on each site system role. And this would basically allow the clients to connect even if they are HTTP, and if they are not HTTPS, then still they would be able to connect. You could check this one. Clients will use HTTPS when they have a valid PKI search. And this would, the reason why I want to check this one, because down the road, I would create some videos that are going to be around the PKI search. So just make sure that this one is checked. Click next. Management point, for now, the client connections, I'm just going to select it to HTTP so that this lab could complete and everything else just leave as a default. Click next. Click next. Leave everything default because you want this one is to you want to make sure that your SCCM infrastructure stayed up to date. So just leave everything default. Click next. Now this is the selections that you have made. This is basically the summary of all of the selections. You can verify it if you want to once. Click next. System is going to check the prerequisites again, just to make sure everything is in its order before it's actually start the installation. Prerequisite check is completed. Don't worry about these two warnings. They are important, but don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. Click begin install, and this would start the installation process. Depending on the speed, I have seen this one completing between 45 minutes to 2 hours, sometimes even 2.5 hours too. It depends on many factors. Could be your machine speed, also how your SQL is configured, basically what kind of memory and speed on that machine, and also depends on the network between those two machines too. So I'm just gonna pause it and come back once this installation is completed, and then I'm gonna run few of the checks to make sure that the core installation of SCCM is successful. I'll be back. So the installation did completed successfully. One way to check it is that there are some logs that are out there that you could check it, and then also I'm going to launch it, launch the SCCM console and see if everything is working. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this, and the logs are stored in C. Each log is basically very self-explanatory. You could just look at it. This is config manager admin UI setup. This was basically actual installation. And the way to look at the logs a better way, as you could see, this is not like really fun with looking into the notepad. Microsoft actually does have a utility that comes in a SCCM installation. So to get, it's called the CM trace. So I'm just going to go ahead and just show you is if you go into the actual installation of the SCCM and just search for CM trace, that's the one. Just gonna double click on it, and then it does prompt you that do you want to read all of the logs in the future with the CM trace. I'm gonna click yes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and close this one and go back and try to open another log. I'm just gonna go back to C, and now I'm just gonna go and open another config, the same one that I had opened before, config manager admin UI setup. And it will, I understand, I think it's prompted like this in the past. I have not seen it, but again, go back and just select CM trace underscore x86.exe and always use app to open the logs. Check that one, click OK. Now you could see the logs are much prettier to read. And the other thing is that, like, let's say if this log was writing to it, and if you had opened this log in the notepad, you have to close and come back in order for it to refresh. But this one, in this case, if you have it open with the CM trace, is kind of a live do. You don't have to refresh, close it and refresh it. It automatically keeps doing it. And then obviously you could do more things with CM trace. I mean, this can take actually a full video too. You could find certain error code, certain things if you want to give you that ability to. So as you could see, it was successfully installed. Go through each of the log. If there were any errors, you would see in one of these errors. Like this is another setup log, config manager setup. This is the log that shows everything that happened during the installation. That's why you could see it's kind of huge. And this is take a little bit of time. I mean, if you look at the size of this one too, this one is about 12 megabyte, which is for a log file is very decent size, pretty good. Okay, so while this one is populated, I'm just gonna go ahead and try to launch SCCM, and hopefully it will come. So click start, and if you look at it, there is a shortcut, config manager console. Just gonna click launch it. I'm gonna minimize. This is the log, by the way. Just gonna minimize the log. All right, so it did launch fine, no errors, no nothing, no issues so far. And quickly what I'll do is I'm just gonna quickly go into the monitoring. This is the very first thing I usually check. And this is where you select on the site server status. First monitoring and then site server status. Status is okay and is active, no issue here. There are a few other things that you could look at too. The system status, just expand this, and site status. You could see everything is all green. If there were any kind of issues, you would see here warning or error. Warning is usually orange and error is red. And then component status. This SMS site component manager error is the one that is kind of concerning. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna kind of right click and show messages, and then select errors, because that's the only one that I'm interested in. 1 day is fine because I just installed it. You could actually select the dates and stuff too, but since I just installed it today, so I'm just gonna look at that one. And if you look at it, this one is complaining about is something, config manager cannot create the object. Possible cause the site server machine account may not have full rights to the container system admin. So I can understand why this error is showing up. This is because when I added the permissions on the config manager using the group, in that group I had not added the machine which was SCCM 01, which I can show you real quick. If you go to the domain controller, I'm just gonna launch I already still have it open, ADSI, and if I go and right click on this, look at the properties on it, and then select the tab security, and if you go, this was a group SCCM admins. That's the group, right? So this group does not have SCCM machine name in it, which we could look at it by launching the going into Active Directory users and computers. And if I look at the SCCM administrators, and if I go and get the properties on it, that's members of, so that's the only one member here. What I need to do, the one way is to either go and manually add the SCCM machine to it, or I can add SCCM into this group. So for this lab purpose, I'll just add SCCM machine into this group. That should take care of the permissions. I don't have to go back into the container and try to manually add it. So I'm just going to go click add, object type. You want to select computers. This way you are able to pull the computer name. Now I'm going to put here SCCM 01, check name, click OK, apply, OK. Go back to SCCM server now. And I'll clear all these errors on it. Right click, reset count, and I'll just go errors, so that it can go, all of the errors could be cleared out. Then I'm going to go back and refresh it. It takes a little bit of time for it to negotiate everything, so just Be patient with it. Fresh. Right there. That's gone now. So it's all good. You could, this should, I think this should conclude the core installation of SCCM. In the next tutorial, I will start adding more features to this site. Hopefully you like it, and I am so sorry it got kind of long, but this is important. So hopefully you guys would understand. I could have broken this video down to two, but then it does cause some more issues that a lot of users or the viewers they're not able to find certain videos. So that's why I try to compile everything in one. Hopefully you liked it. If you have any kind of tips, or if you want to give an honest feedback, please make sure to leave it in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to improve. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.